Hello and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, sharing the show. I truly appreciate it. I just love how people are continuing to love and enjoy the show. And if you do love and enjoy the show, and if you are able to leave a 5-star review or to just leave some sort of uplifting comment or interesting description of the show from your point of view on whatever podcast platform you listen to the show, I would greatly appreciate it. That would just help bring more people into listening to the show and give me the opportunity to help even more people. So if you were able to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you wanted to come by and just chat with me and connect with me on Instagram, I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or you're welcome to send me an email as well. All of that information is in the description box, along with all the notes for the show. But again, I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you downloading and sharing the show. So let's get right into the episode. Thanks so much, guys. Happy Tuesday, everyone, and thanks for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. I hope that you're having a great day so far. Just a reminder that this week we are talking about cognitive distortions, and today, Tuesday, we are going to discuss overgeneralizations. But before we jump into that, I want to remind you of the 5-minute reset, which is a fantastic way for you to draw a line in the sand and leave behind rough day, stressful events, anything that's kind of bringing you down. And, look forward to starting your day brand new right then and there, even if it's at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. Allow yourself to look forward and actually, feel positive and feel happy and not let those other things drag you down and make you feel bad about that whole day and make you feel like you wasted your day, which is not true. So for the 5-minute reset, you need to just take at least 5 minutes to be by yourself, to reset, reboot, restart your day right then and there. It also allows you to take a break from any issues or burdens that are weighing you down and causing you trouble. You can also spend some time coming up with any resolutions for any problems or issues you're dealing with, whether alone or with others. And I always suggest for everyone to come up with a list of at least 4 things that you are grateful for, big, small, or medium size. You can be grateful for literally anything. You can be grateful for having a really good bowl of soup for dinner. You can be grateful that you were able to run all your errands in the least amount of time possible, which is fantastic. You can be grateful that it was a pretty easy day at work and you didn't feel super stressed and overwhelmed. And you can be grateful that you finally put all your Christmas decor away. Yeah, it's okay. It's February. I once knew someone that had their Christmas decor up. I think it was through April, and it was a live tree in their house. So it's totally fine. You can be grateful for literally anything and everything. And then it just means the list is never endless. And then last but not least, make sure that you're feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of your day. And hopefully coming up with your gratitude list and reflecting on positive, amazing blessings in your life will just shift your mindset. And also, if you do spend more time thinking about those positive blessings, it will help you get through the hard times that you may be incurring right now. But I do hope that on this Tuesday, you're having a fantastic day. Like I said, we are talking about cognitive distortions this week, and today, Tuesday, we're going to talk about overgeneralizing. So overgeneralizing is something I personally don't slip into often these days. Definitely something that I've struggled with, and people surround me do. But personally, I'm way too specific with everything in my life, and I try very hard to keep an open mind so I don't get caught up in this distorted thought process because, like I said, I did used to struggle with it. But I know this cognitive distortion affects many. So overgeneralizing can be thought of as making broad assumptions about something from limited experience. And I feel like you can compare it also to like black and white thinking, going from 0 to 100. It's a very narrow view. So something like going out on a date, but not being asked out for a second date can lead someone to think they will never find love or never be asked out on a second date because of that one experience. And another example is you go on a job interview and feel like it went bad and assume you won't get the job and maybe no job you want at all. You see how this can spiral out of control so quickly. It's because you're just basing everything on one experience, and this thought pattern will often include the use of the words like all, every, always, never. All these words are very extremist, I guess you could label it as, because it's very, again, black and white, 0 to 100. There's no like gray area in between. It's either like, well, this thing happened to me. It means I am destined and doomed for it to continue to happen because it's happened one time, as opposed to just isolating that experience and moving forward in life. You know how I always talk about growing and learning from every situation that we go through, good or bad. This would be the case of someone not taking the time to grow and learn from those situations, because the moment something bad happens, you assume it's going to happen every single time. And you might be thinking, well, I have been able to, predict something happening the way I thought it would, or my generalization was right, like thinking that something did happen terribly or just not to your liking or not to your desire, and then it just continued to happen to you. Like, let's say that you continued to go on dates with people and you continued to not get a second date. But this is only because the actions you took after having that thought led you to making it true, like giving up on dating or never going on a job interview again, or by continually going into that first date believing that you're not going to have a second date and self-sabotaging it somehow by, being negative or not showing your best side or not thinking of it as a fresh start or, just not caring. And then the person's just like, oh, I'm not into them. And they don't call you back, or they don't call you at all. Or maybe they do call you, but you don't answer because you're like, oh, they're just letting me down. You're already building these negative thoughts that are wrapping you up and binding you into this mindset. It's really so unfair to yourself, honestly. And overgeneralizing isn't helpful because it's so limiting. You see how it's so limiting? There are too many factors in real life that contribute to what happens in our everyday lives. So it's really tough for people that have a wider perspective, despite any other struggles they're just dealing with. But some people are just able to have a wide perspective of what's going on and not get so bogged down with these limiting beliefs. But you have to realize that there are so many factors that contribute to things happening every day. It's not just that one experience that's going to dictate the rest of your life with that particular thing. It's just not how life works. But we get so caught up in that. We can get so caught up, especially if it's happened like once or twice, especially if it happens back to back, and it just seems like this thing that's going to continue to happen consecutively. It's, you let your mind take control of of the situation and of your thoughts, and you let fear lead and insecurities, and you let it continue to be narrow because you feel like you've already proven it right twice. So how could anything change or shift from that experience? It's a narrow view of what has happened and what will happen again and how you see the situation or person. And when I say person, yes, this can include prejudices. It's interesting that when I was doing the research of finding out of how, overgeneralizing definitely plays a big part in prejudices against other people. And let's say you might meet someone of a specific cultural background and assume you know everything about that person from that background, from this one interaction. So even if it was positive, you might think that all people from that culture are positive. Or if you meet this person, they're super negative, or they're mean, or they're rude, and you think that all people from that culture are mean or rude. And I feel like this happens all the time without us even realizing it. Maybe we will meet someone of a certain descent and be like, oh, they're mean and rude. And especially if we've been told like stereotypes of what they're supposed to be like, and we just kind of like take those and hold on to them, and then we see them play into it in our own minds, and then we just continue to carry that on for everyone else. Don't even give anyone else a chance until someone actually is, really breaks out of that stereotype that you're thinking in your mind, really pushes it for you. And then you're like, oh, wow. But you can't always count on that. You shouldn't be counting on that at all whatsoever. That shouldn't be your way out. Your way out should be to just decide to open your mind and not be so narrow-minded and just, blanket categorize and generalize everyone just from your personal interaction. A question I want you to ask yourself. We're going to get to some tips on how to overcome overgeneralization. But, something I do want to point out is that ask yourself, when you are making these generalizations, and you may not even realize you're doing it until now, me bringing it up, which is great. Self-awareness, super important. But ask yourself, why would your one experience or two or three, whatever it is, dictate how these people are, right? Why? Why would your one experience dictate that? Or why would your one experience dictate what's going to happen in the future? Why? Why is this sounds rude, but why is your experience so special compared to someone in another country on the other side of the world, speaking with the same person? You have to ask yourself, you have to ask yourself these questions that will push you out of your little comfort zone in your mind and widen your perspective and be like, wow, this one experience isn't that special to everything. And it should not dictate the way that I see everyone in the world, because everyone is different, especially from one country to the next, Oh, it's just tough. Prejudices are so tough. And we all want to work to overcome them. And it's hard because sometimes we don't even realize that we were taking part in them. And I definitely wanted to highlight that to you because it's tough, because the people that are being prejudiced against, they know. And not everyone speaks up for themselves. But I want you to realize that if you are realizing now that you were doing that and you didn't even realize it, and you feel upset and shameful, don't. Just work to overcome it. Just work to overcome it and get over it and move past it and become better from that experience and from becoming more self-aware and understanding what's going on. So, with all of that, it's also the insecurities, like I mentioned before, that cause people to give up and give in to these self-defeating thought patterns and force this to become a depressing cycle. It is a cycle. It's kind of like a rat race. You get caught up in it, caught up in this thought pattern. You got to break yourself free. But it's also self-defeating, because you are literally letting yourself down and continuing to push yourself into this really small place where your mind exists, where there's so much more to observe and absorb and experience and endure, and you're not even allowing yourself to do that because you get so caught up in these few experiences. Overgeneralizing makes me think a lot about assumptions too, and I hate assumptions. I hate them ever since I was a child. It's my father's doing, because it was one of the things he always says. I truly believe in the phrase, which my father told me, and I hope this does not offend anyone. And I don't normally curse, but I'm going to say this one phrase. Assumptions make an ass out of you. And I believe that. And my father taught me that very young, because it was definitely one of the things I got in trouble for the most when I was younger, is assuming I knew what to do or how to do something or what someone wanted. And it's amazing that all of that learning about assumptions growing up with my father didn't, counteract me wanting to mind read. And mind reading was something we'll talk about, as time goes on. I think it's something really important. We're actually going to talk about it tomorrow. But I feel like, honestly, my father really pushing back about how assumptions are wrong and terrible and unnecessary and a waste of time and energy. It actually enforced me to be even better about figuring out mind reading. Anyway, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But yeah, I hate assumptions. I hate them. I believe assumptions and overgeneralizations come out of thought laziness and a lack of perspective. Because it's laziness because you don't even want to take the time to really think of another thought, another possibility, another reason. Step outside your negative thoughts that are cropping up, because overgeneralizations are generally negative thoughts. They hold you captive. They really do. And along with laziness, a lack of perspective, because it really is, as I've said many times, you're living in this narrow thought pattern and you think everything inside that small little thought pattern is gospel, is truth, is everything to you. And it's not. It's really not. But that's why assumptions and overgeneralizations are hand in hand, because, you are assuming you know everything. You're assuming you know the answer. You're assuming you understand because of your limited view and experience. And it makes you feel good to think you know everything too. A lot of people really want to be able to pad their ego. And I would never attribute overgeneralization as something positive at all, but it's when you feel like you know what's going to come or you know what's going to happen, it makes you feel stronger. It makes you feel like you're in more control, when that's like, it's the total opposite of that. It's the total opposite of that. And something else about overgeneralizing that can help you understand it better is it's like creating a rule for life based on one or two experiences. Again, very limiting. You're creating these rules of like, okay, this is the way this is going to happen because of these two experiences. Okay, this is the way this should happen because of these two experiences. This is the way this person's going to act because of this one experience. You're creating rules that are only based on your understanding of the world. And then you have the expectations that everyone else should follow these rules and projecting them out there when they don't know why you came up with these and they don't understand the foundation that you've created for them. And you shouldn't be spreading that kind of stuff because it's not helpful. It's not. It's just not. So let's shift and talk about some ways to limit overgeneralizations. I only have 3 tips for you. It'll be really helpful. But I do want to say, if you do struggle with this type of thought pattern or any of the ones that I'm going to mention this week, I do encourage you to seek out actual professional help. See a therapist if you are really struggling with these things. I'm giving you tips and you are welcome to try these at first. But if you are still struggling and having a hard time with these distortions, you really need to seek out a professional so they can help you and they can help you figure it out and really dig a lot deeper than I can, okay? Because they'll actually be able to talk to you and understand where you're coming from and figure out where you need to go to get better. So, the first one is to become aware of this thought pattern. And I talk about this all the time. Self-awareness. You need to be aware that you actually have a problem with overgeneralization. And just be honest with yourself and be like, hey, I have been doing this. I have been having this narrow mindset and I have been like backing myself into a corner thinking that all these negative things are going to happen because it happened one time, or you even distorted the actual event and think that you went on that date and then they didn't call you for a second date and thinking you're not going to get any second dates, but that person just probably didn't like you. And then if you continue to go on dates and assume that they aren't going to call you or like you, and you just continue to play that out in your mind and that plays out in the actual experience with that person, it's just like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're making that happen. So you have to understand that you have to become aware of this thought pattern and understand that you have an issue with it and that you need to work on it so that you can widen your perspective and actually enjoy your life more. Increase your happiness and joy and, lessen the amount of stress, depression, anxiety that could be creeping into your life because of this negative thought pattern. The second tip I have for you is making sure you're grounded in reality before jumping to conclusions or decisions. So if you are in a situation where you are about to make an overgeneralization, like you're becoming more aware of when you do this and you feel it coming on, you feel like, an event occurred, you went to a job interview and you've gone to ones in the past for your dream job and you hadn't got them yet and you're thinking every single time you're not going to get them and you like end up self-sabotaging, but this time you're like, okay, wait, do I really need to be thinking this? Should I really already assume that I'm not going to get it before you go into that interview? Or can I tell myself this could be different? And even if it's not different, next time could be different. And just because this time feels the same, it doesn't mean it's the same. There's different circumstances at play every single time. And you need to own up to what you're doing. You can't just be a victim and act like the universe has taken over and this is what you should expect. Like, it's not Groundhog's Day, okay? You have to own up and understand that you play a role every single time. You can't just assume it's going to play out the same way every time because it's happened that one time. You're not cursed. This is not just the way life is. You can't play into that. So I would encourage you to really make sure that before you make those thoughts and feelings and, Lord willing, not assumptions, you ask yourself, is this reality? Am I actually being realistic here? Is my perspective wide enough to see this from all angles? And am I jumping to conclusions or decisions too fast? I really need to think through this first. Am I preparing myself in the most positive way for whatever the experience is or the situation is? Or am I trying to just make it easy on myself and not expand the positivity that I could have, that this will be different from last time? And the third tip I have for you, and the last one, is to exchange your negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So we've already spoken about how all overgeneralizations are negative thoughts. You're living in this negativity that is just, trying to swallow you whole. And if you do ask yourself, you start getting yourself grounded in reality, like, wow, do I really think this job interview is going to turn out like every other one? And you're like, well, maybe it is because I still haven't gotten the job yet. But instead of feeding into those negative thoughts, you need to replace some positive ones. You need to be like, okay, well, I can go in there and I believe I can get this job. And I believe that I can do my best. And that's all I can do. And I need to just stay positive to get through it. And even if you don't get it, and even if it doesn't turn out the way that you wanted it to turn out, you still have to be positive and understand that things are going to work out for you when they need to work out. And you are turning a corner and making a change and understanding that you are no longer feeding into these negative thoughts, these negative habitual feelings that you think that everything is going to just implode because it happened a couple times, Believe me, I've been there. It's tough. It's really tough to escape those mindsets when they have taken you down for so long and you've let them do that. But you have to break free and understand that it's in your best interest that you do, so that you can start feeding in more positive thoughts and realizing that things will change if you are willing to put in the work to make things change. You can't just sit on your butt and just expect things to change, or hope things will change, but still do the same things, right? That's not going to work. So, well, that's all I have to share with you today about overgeneralizing. I apologize for my voice. It's just going out. But at least it waited till the end, so thankful for that. Again, happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, check the description box for notes for the show, where to find me on Instagram, which is at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. Send me an email if you want to just get in contact with me. You have any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, and hello to me, I would love it. But, tomorrow we're going to talk about mind reading. I'm very excited about it. But until then, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.